Hey everyone, and welcome back to Daily Tuition. In this lecture, we're going to talk about how to create this beautiful, simple and creative responsive portfolio website using Bootstrap 5. Bootstrap 5 is an alpha, so I decided to make a simple practice tutorial on Bootstrap 5 to make it simple to understand Bootstrap 5. Now keep in mind, we're not going to make any big project using Bootstrap 5 because it is in the alpha version right now. And we don't know there are some changes that could be done in future. So I decided to make a simple practice video on Bootstrap 5. We're going to understand how to create this beautiful responsive website using Bootstrap 5. And you can notice this website is completely responsive for all the mobile devices. In Bootstrap 5, there are major changes that could be seen in the future. So if you just open v5.getbootstrap.com, you can get the alpha version of the Bootstrap. So let me just click on this, get started, and show you the migration from version 4 to version 5. There are many changes have been made in Bootstrap 5. Now let me just talk about some major changes done in Bootstrap 5. In Bootstrap 5, we don't have jQuery. Bootstrap dropped jQuery dependency and rewrote the plugin to be in regular JavaScript. Then we have the updated color system and beautiful Utility API. I love the Utility API because it allows you to create classes with different values very easily. Now in this lecture, we're going to talk about how you can create a Utility API that can help you to create different classes and help you to build a website. Now let's get started and see how to create this beautiful website with Bootstrap 5. So before we getting late, let's get started. Now I'm going to just open the Visual Studio Code editor, which is the most popular editor in the market. And in the Visual Studio Code, I'm going to open an empty folder inside it. You can notice I already have this portfolio empty folder inside this Visual Studio Code. I just click on this file and open this folder using this open folder option. And here I'm going to create my index file. So I'm going to say here index.html. You're free to specify any name to this file, that doesn't matter. And now here I'm going to create a simple HTML5 snippet. So I'm going to just click on this exclamation mark and press tab. When you work with Visual Studio Code editor, that's very easy to create HTML. So here I'm going to create a HTML5 snippet and specify title to it. So here I'm going to say portfolio, just like this. And now let me just create a new folder here and specify name to it, assets. Now in this folder, I'm going to put all the images which we are going to use in this tutorial. So I'm going to put all the images inside it. So I'm going to just open my images, copy it, and just paste it inside the asset folder right here, just like this. So I'm going to have all that images inside this asset folder. Don't worry, you can download all these images from the link provided in the description. Now just for that, once I have all these images, let me just create a CSS file. Now in this lecture, I'm not going to use CSS. Instead, we are going to use Sass here. Because to work with Bootstrap Utility API, you need to work with Sass. If you don't know about Sass, I already have a complete course on it. You can check that course on the top right corner of the screen. So I'm going to just create a new folder here and name this folder Sass, just like this. And in this folder, I'm going to create a Sass file. So here I'm going to create a new file and say main.scss. Now in this file, I'm going to put all the Sass code. Now before we move on, I want to install the Sass compiler in this Visual Studio Code editor. Because using it, I'm going to just compile this Sass file into CSS so we can use it in HTML. So I'm going to just click on this extension right here, and you can notice here I already have the live Sass compiler installed in the Visual Studio Code editor. When I click on it, you just need to install this live Sass compiler in the Visual Studio Code editor to compile the Sass in CSS. Now once you install it, let me just show you some settings. So I'm going to just open my settings. So I'm going to just open my setting.json, and here you can notice I just specify some settings here to the Sass compiler. You just need to copy these settings and specify that in your setting.json file. I just specify format compress. I'm going to specify extension to the compile file, CSS, and I'm going to specify save path in the CSS folder. So all the CSS file is good to save in this CSS folder. So when I compile the Sass file, it's going to create a CSS folder with .css file. Now just for that, once you copy all these settings and put that in your settings.json file, let me just close this file. And now you need to install the live server extension. This extension is going to save your lot of time. It's going to open your index file in the live server. So whenever you make any changes in your HTML file, it automatically reflects on your browser. You don't have to reload your browser every time when you save changes. So once you've done that, here I have material icons to specify icons to the files. And here you can notice I'm using one dark pro theme. Now let me just back to my Explorer, and just for that, I'm going to open the main.scss. And here I'm going to first add Bootstrap. If you just open the Bootstrap website, then you can notice when you click on this Get Started, you have different ways to link Bootstrap to your project. You can use the CDNs to link it, or you can simply use npm to install Bootstrap in your project. I'm using the npm statement to install Bootstrap in this project. So I'm going to just back to my project and I'm going to just open my terminal like this, and you can notice I'm in the portfolio folder. In this portfolio folder, I'm going to first install Bootstrap. So before you execute this command, make sure you have npm installed in your system. I already have a video on how to install npm in your system. You can check that video on the top right corner of the screen or in the video description. What I'm going to do is, here I'm going to say npm install. So I'm going to say here I, and then I'm going to specify name of the package. So here I'm going to say Bootstrap and then specify @ and specify next. So if we just execute this statement, it's going to install the latest version of Bootstrap, or you can specify Bootstrap version as well. So here I'm going to say 5.0.0 and then specify alpha 1. So if you want to install the Bootstrap I'm using, you just need to specify this command. When you press enter, you can notice you have Bootstrap installed in your project. Now, just for that, I'm going to create npm file. So I'm going to just clear the screen and say npm init, just like this. And I'm going to just keep all the questions. I'm going to specify here -y. When I press enter, I'm going to have package.json file. You can notice here. Now, I have Bootstrap as a dependency of this project. Now, just for that, I'm going to clear the screen and install Bootstrap icons. In the Bootstrap 5, you have Bootstrap icons as well. If you click on these icons, you can see you have different icons which you can work with. So I'm going to install these Bootstrap icons using npm. So I'm going to just back to my project, and here I'm going to say npm install. So I'm going to say here I Bootstrap -icons, just like this. When I press enter, I'm going to have Bootstrap icons in my project. Now, just for that, I'm going to close this terminal, and in the node modules folder, you're going to have Bootstrap and Bootstrap icons folder. So here you can access Bootstrap files. So here you have all the Sass files of the Bootstrap. Now, just for that, I'm going to close this package.json, back to the main.scss file, and here I'm going to first import Bootstrap. So here I'm going to first specify a command, just like this. So here I'm going to specify import Bootstrap, just like this. And here I'm going to import Bootstrap. So I'm going to start with the keyword import, and then I'm going to specify the path of the Bootstrap file. So I'm going to specify in the single quote, specify // to access the node modules folder. So I'm going to select node modules, then select Bootstrap, then I'm going to select scss, and then I'm going to select bootstrap.scss file. Don't forget to specify semicolon here at the end of this statement. Now I'm going to just save the changes and compile this Sass file. Now, when you install the live Sass compiler in your Visual Studio Code editor, you're going to have a new option here, Watch Sass. Just click on it. When you click on it, your Sass file is now compiled, and you have here a new folder, and you can notice you have a status watching. So whenever you make any changes in this file, this compiler is going to automatically compile your Sass file into CSS. Let me just close this and open this main.css file. You can notice here we have all the Bootstrap code in this .css file, so we can use it in the project. Let me just close this main file and open the index.html, and here I'm going to just link this main file. So I'm going to first create here a command to indicate this is the important main file. So I'm going to create here HTML5 command, and I'm going to just say here link main.css file, just like this. And here I'm going to say link, and I'm going to link main file. So I'm going to select CSS and main.css. So now the styling is now linked to the index file. Just for that, I'm going to save all the changes back to the main.css. And now here in this main file, I'm going to start styling to this index.html. So instead of adding all the code in this file, I'm going to create a separate partial file for this index file for styling. So what I'm going to do is, in this Sass file, I'm going to create a partial file of Sass. So I'm going to create a new file and specify underscore style.scss. When I enter, you can notice I have a file style.scss. Now you can notice I specify underscore before this file. If you just keep this underscore before this file, Sass compiler is going to create a new style.css file in this CSS folder, which I don't want to do. I want to use this style in this main. When I make any changes in the style file, I want to execute and compile this main file. That is why I inform Sass to use this style as a partial file. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use this main.scss to import this style. So down here I'm going to use import, and in the single quote I'm going to use this style.scss. Save the changes, and now whenever you make any changes in the style file, the main file is going to compile and create a new main.css file. So you're going to have all the code of the style file in this main.css. Once you understand how the styling works, let me just back to my index and add some HTML element and create this beautiful website. Once we set up all the styling of this project, let's just back to the index.html and create some HTML elements. So now I'm going to just right click here and open this file in the live server. We already know that how we can get this option. We install the live server extension in the Visual Studio Code editor, and once you install it, you're going to have an option open with live server. Just click on it and open this file in the live server. Now once you click it, you can notice the file is now open in the default browser. Now once I have my file open in the default browser, let me just close this and toggle this Visual Studio Code editor on the right side of the screen, just like this. Minimize this Explorer, and right here in the body section, I'm going to start creating this beautiful website. So here's the finished website. In this finished website, we have header and the main section of this website. In the header, we just have a background image, a profile image, name, and in the main section, we have the objective, description, download CV button, recent works, and at the last, we have get in touch section. So let me show you how you can create it. So let me just open my live server, and here I'm going to start with the header section. So I'm going to create here a command, header, just like this, and just close this right here to indicate this is the closing header. So I'm going to specify here / to indicate this is the closing header section. In this command, I'm going to create a new header. So I'm going to say header here and create a new tag header. Just out of this header, I'm going to create main section of this website. So I'm going to create a command, site main, and copy this command and paste it here and just close it to indicate this is the closing main section. And in this main section, I'm going to create a main tag. So I'm going to say here main with the ID site main. So to create a main tag, I'm going to specify main here, and then to specify ID, I'm going to specify hash site main, just like this, and press tab. When I press tab, you can notice I'm going to have a main tag with the ID site main. So using Visual Studio Code editor, that's super easy to create any tag. Now let's start with the header section first. I'm going to first specify ID to it. So here I'm going to specify ID header, and in this header, I'm going to create a division tag, and I'm going to specify fix class to it. To create a division tag, you don't need to specify here div and then specify class to it. Instead, you just need to specify here dot to specify class and specify here fix. And when you press tab, you're going to have a division tag with the class fix. Now div is a default HTML element in Visual Studio Code editor, so you don't need to specify div while creating it. Let me just insert image inside it. So here I'm going to add image, and in the source attribute, I'm going to specify my image. So I'm going to select my asset folder, and here I'm going to specify this UI face 2 image, just like this. And in the alt attribute, I'm going to say face, specify class to it, and here I'm going to add a bootstrap class, which is img fluid. So this class is used to make image responsive. So I'm going to use this class and save the changes. When I save the changes, you can notice I have the image here. Now what I want to add this image in the circle. So here I'm going to add a bootstrap class, rounded circle, just like this. When I save the changes, you can notice we have this image in the circle. Now just out of this image, I'm going to add here h3 heading tag, just like this, and I'm going to add here text white bootstrap class. So when I specify here text white, and when I press tab, you're going to have h3 heading tag with the class text white. Now the text white class is going to specify white color to the text. Now when I specify text to it, you're not going to see it because we have white background. Let me just specify here text. So here I'm going to specify daily tuition, just like this. When I save the changes, you're not going to see anything here because we have white background to this document. Let me just remove this class and show you the text. Now just for that, I'm going to specify background image to this section. So I'm going to just back to my style.css right here, and here I'm going to specify background image to this section. So what I'm going to do is, here I'm going to create SAS code to specify background image to this section. So here I'm going to first select header. So I'm going to specify here hash header, and in the curly braces, I'm going to specify style to the fix class, to this fix class. So here I'm going to say fix, just like this. And in the curly braces, I'm going to specify style to it. So I'm going to first specify width. Width is going to be 33. Then I'm going to specify height is going to be 100%. Just out of that, I'm going to specify position. And then I'm going to specify left 0. And display is going to be flex. And then I'm going to specify flex direction is going to be column. The default value of this flex direction is row. I'm going to change it with this statement. Now just out of that, I'm going to specify justify content center to center all the content, just like this. And then I'm going to specify align items center to vertically center this content. When I save the changes, I'm going to have all the content at the center of this header. I'm going to specify background image here. I'm going to say background image. So here I'm going to say background. In the URL, in the single quote, I'm going to select my asset, just like this, and select my background image here. Save the changes, and just for that, I'm going to have the background image. Then I'm going to specify background size, cover, and then I'm going to specify background repeat is going to be no repeat, just like this. When I save the changes, I'm going to have background image to this header section. Now I want to change the size of this image, so I'm going to just simply use the image tag for that. So in the fix class, I have image. So just down here, I can use image tag just like this and specify width 180 pixel. When I save the changes, I have the result something like this. That's super easy to create the header section of this website. Now just like that, just back to the index.html, and here I'm going to specify text wide just like this. Now let me just add some padding to it. So using Bootstrap classes, I can specify bottom and top padding. So here I'm going to specify padding bottom 4 and padding top 2, just like this. When I save the changes, I have some padding to this image and to this text. Now let's take a look at how you can import font in this website. So I'm going to just open a new tab and search for Google font, just like this. I'm going to search for it and click on this Google fonts, and I'm going to open it. And now here I'm going to search for Roboto, just like this, and use this Roboto font in this tutorial. So I'm going to click on this Roboto and I'm going to select the style. I'm going to select this light 300. So I'm going to click on this, select this style, just like this. When you select it, you can notice we have the selected font family on the right side of the screen. Just out of that, I'm going to select Lato. I'm going to click on it and select this styling, light 300. I'm going to click on this, select this style. You're free to choose any styling from this font. And you can notice here on the right side, if we have selected font families, I'm going to just click on this embed. And here you can notice we have this import statement. I'm going to click on it and get this import statement, copy it and paste it in the new file. So I'm going to create a new file here in this SAS folder. I'm going to create a new file. So I'm going to start with the underscore to specify this is a partial file. And here I'm going to specify the name for this file, api.scss. So in this file, I'm going to create Bootstrap Utility API. And in this file, I'm going to put this import statement, just like this. So I'm going to have all these fonts in this file. I'm going to save the changes and back to the main.scss file. And before this Bootstrap, right here, I'm going to import api.scss file, just like this. When I save the changes, you will have this API code in the main.css file. Now let's move on and see how to create utility API using Bootstrap 5. I'm going to just back to the Bootstrap, and here I'm going to search for utility API. When you search for it, you can notice you have the option here, utility API. Just click on it and open the utility API, and you can notice here we have some instruction. The utilities map contains all the utilities and later merge with your custom utilities map if present. So I'm going to use this utility variable and merge our own styling. So there are some properties you can use with this utility variable: property, responsive, RSF, class, values, and prints. Some properties are optional. Now let me show you how you can add this utility API in your project and make it more simple. Here you can notice the example of utility API. To add the utility API, you just need to start with utility variable, and then here you need to wrap them in the parentheses. And in the parentheses, you're going to start with this opacity object, and you're going to have some properties to it. So I'm going to just specify property opacity to this class, and here's the values of this property. So here on the key 0 we have value 0, on the key 25 we have value 0.25, on key 50 we have 0.5, and on key 100 we have 1. So these are the values of opacity property. When you execute this statement, the output you're going to get is something like this. You will have these classes which you can use in your HTML file. You can use opacity 0, opacity 25, opacity 75, and opacity 100. So you can use these classes in your HTML. So let me show you how you can create this utility API in the project. So I'm going to just back to my project, and here I'm going to first create two global classes. So here I'm going to first create Roboto, just like this, and specify font family Roboto. And I'm going to specify cursive as a fallback value. Just for that, I'm going to create a class Lato, and font family is going to be Lato, just like this, and specify fallback value cursive. Now here I'm going to just create utility API. So I'm going to start with a variable utility, just like this, and make it default. So specify here colon, specify parentheses, and here I'm going to specify default, just like this. So I'm going to just make this variable default, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this utility map and make our own custom styling. So I'm going to just open the api.acss file, and here I'm going to first add utilities, then specify colon, and then add a function map merge. And to this map merge, I'm going to create key and value pair. So here I'm going to get rid of this statement and create different map here. So to create a map, I'm going to just first specify here parentheses, and in this parentheses I'm going to create font size, and to this key I'm going to specify properties to it. And in this parentheses you can specify different properties to this utility map. So you can notice here you have different properties here: properties, responsive, RFS, class, values, and print. So I'm going to use some of these properties and create my own utility API. So I'm going to just back to my project, and here what I'm going to do is just out of this parentheses, right down here I'm going to specify comma and call utilities here, just like this. So you can notice here I'm going to just merge our styling with this utility map. So I'm going to just specify these utilities as a second argument to this map merge function. Now here you can notice we just specify a key, font size, and in the parentheses I'm going to pass some properties. So the first property I'm going to specify here is property, and to this property I'm going to specify CSS properties. So here I'm going to say font size, just like this. Specify comma here, and then I'm going to specify class. Class is going to be fs, and then I'm going to specify values to it. So I'm going to say values, specify colon, and in the parentheses you can specify different values to the font size. So now here I'm going to create different key and values. So here I'm going to say 1 colon 1 rem. Now let me first explain this code. I'm going to first create a key for this code. So I'm going to uniquely identify it. So I'm going to specify here font size, and in the parentheses I'm going to create different properties to it. So here I'm going to first specify property which I want to specify to the class, and just for that I'm going to create a class fs so we can access this font size, and then I'm going to specify values to this font size property. If I want to access this value, I can simply call a class here fs-1. So in the HTML file I can access this value just like this. Now just for that I'm going to merge this statement in the utility map. So when I execute this file, it's going to create a class something like this. It's going to create a class dot fs-1, and in this class you have property font size 1 rem, just like this. So once I execute this statement, it's going to compile and create this type of class. Now just for that, if I just specify here comma and then specify here 2 colon 2 rem, then I'm going to have a new class with the name fs2, and then I'm going to have font size 2 rem. That's super easy, right? So using these classes you can specify different font size to your text. I'm going to just get rid of this statement just like this, and here I'm going to specify comma, then create 3 rem, just like this, and just out of this one here I'm going to create 1.5 rem. So here I'm going to say 1_5, and then specify 1.5 rem font size, just like this. And here I'm going to say 2_5, and then I'm going to say 2.5 RAM. Save the changes. Now, as I said, you can use this class to specify these different values to your HTML element. Save this main file as well and save this style as well. I'm going to just back to my index.html and back to the portfolio website. Now I want to change the size of this text. So I'm going to just specify here a class Roboto. As you can notice here, we have this class Roboto. I'm going to just specify that. So I'm going to just open the index file. Here I'm going to specify Roboto just like this. When I save the changes, I'm going to have the Roboto font family to this text. Then I'm going to specify here FS2. When I save the changes, it's going to add font size 2 rem to this text. You can notice here we just have here API with a value 2 rem. So this is going to create a new class with these values. Now just for that, what I want to create padding top class with different values. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to specify here comma and then specify here input padding just like this, specify colon and create a new map just like this. If you want, you can specify any name to these keys, that doesn't matter. Here I'm going to create property and I want to specify property padding top. So here I'm going to say padding top, then specify class to it. Class is going to be IPT. Make sure the class is unique, and here I'm going to specify values, and in the values I'm going to specify different values to this padding top. Here I'm going to first create a key 6, specify colon, specify 10 rem. Then I'm going to create 7 with 12 rem. Then I'm going to create 8 with 14 rem. Then I'm going to create 9 with 16 rem, and then I'm going to create 10 with 18 rem, just like this. Once you create this mapping, let me show you what would be the output of this statement. If you just execute this file, it's going to create a new class with the name IPT. With this IPT, you're going to have these different values. So this is going to create a class first, IPT6, and to this IPT6, you're going to have property padding top, and the value is going to have is 10 rem. So this mapping is going to create a new class with this IPT class name with this key 6, and with this key you have value 10 rem. And now just for that, it's going to create a new class with this key 7. So when you execute this file, you're going to have IPT with the class IPT7, and then you have padding top 12. So it's going to create different classes with these different keys. I'm going to just create it off this statement, save this file, and now let me just back to the index.html and let's move to the main section of this website. Now once you understand how you can create the utility API, let me show you how you can use it. So I'm going to just create a main section of this website and show you how you can use this utility API. So let me just back to my index file, and in the main section I'm going to create a new division tag here, and I'm going to specify class to it, container fluid. Now this class is going to specify 100% width to this division tag. Now just for that, here I'm going to create a new row, and in this row I'm going to create my grid system. So here I'm going to create my first column. So I'm going to create a comment here and specify here column. So here I'm going to specify a command call and just close it just like this to indicate this is the first column. Now in this column I'm going to create a division tag with ID info. So I'm going to start with hash info, and if I want to add a class with this ID, I can specify here dot and specify class name just like this. When I press tab, I'm going to have ID info and class call. That's super easy, right? Now to this div I'm going to specify some padding. So I'm going to say padding x5. So this will add left and right padding to this division tag, and right here in this column I'm going to create another grid system. So here I'm going to create a new row and create my first section of this website. So here I'm going to create this section. So I'm going to just back to my project, and here I'm going to add a command just like this and say here first section, close this command to indicate this is the closing first section. And then I'm going to create here a column. So here I'm going to say call 12 to specify 12 column width to this division tag, and then here I'm going to create h1 heading tag with some text. So I'm going to just back to my project, and you can notice I have some text here, simple and creative portfolio website designed with Bootstrap 5. I'm going to copy it and use it here in this h1 heading tag, just like this. When I save the changes, you can notice I have this statement here. Now you can notice the text is now behind this section. Because we specify fixed property to this header section, I'm going to have this text behind this header section. So to this column, I'm going to just add some space on the left side. So here I'm going to say offset MD4. So when I save the changes, you can notice I have some space here. And just add that. Here I'm going to just add some space to the top section. So I'm going to just add here to this h1 heading tag. I'm going to specify class. So I'm going to just specify here class IPT8. So I'm using the API class here, IPT8. When I save the changes, you can notice I have some space to the top section of this h1 heading tag. When I open the api.scss file, I'm using here this IPT class with this value. So I'm going to just specifying padding top 14 rem. Now back to the index file, and here I'm going to specify roboto and text dark. Save the changes. It's going to change this font family and the color. Now just for that, I want to break the statement right from here. Right here I'm going to add break tag, just like this. So I'm going to have this design on the next line. Just for this h1 heading tag, here I'm going to add a paragraph, and to this paragraph I'm going to add some demo text. If you want to add demo text, you can simply use here lorem and specify demo words. So if you want to add 10 demo words, you can specify here 10 and press tab. When you press tab, you're going to have 10 demo words. And if you want to change and specify 20 demo words, you can specify here 20, and when you press tab, you're going to have 20 demo words. I'm not going to do it because I already have some text on my finished website. Right here, I'm going to copy it and specify that in this paragraph, just like this. And to this paragraph, let me just specify some classes. So here I'm going to specify class. Let me first save the changes. And right here to this class, I'm going to specify roboto font family. Then I'm going to specify font size. And here I'm going to say fs-1_5. So you can notice here I'm using Bootstrap Utility classes here. When I save the changes, it's going to change the font size and font family of this text. So here I'm using this 1_5 key. So in the index file, I'm using fs class with the key 1_5. So I'm going to just specify 1.5 rem font size to this text. Now just for that, I'm going to specify here padding y4. So it's going to add top and bottom padding, and then I'm going to add text secondary to add light dark color, and then I'm going to add width 75. So it's going to add 75% width to this paragraph. I'm using all these Bootstrap classes with the utility class. Save the changes, and here I'm going to have a result what I want. Just for that, I'm going to add a button just out of this paragraph. Down here I'm going to add a button, and I'm going to add download CV text here, and then I'm going to specify class to it. The class is going to be btn, which is a Bootstrap class. Then I'm going to specify fs-1_5. So I'm going to specify 1.5 rem font size to this text. Then I'm going to specify border. Save the changes. Then I'm going to specify here text secondary, and then I'm going to specify padding x4. So this is going to add left and right padding to this button, just like this. Now just out of that, I'm going to add this horizontal row here just out of this button. So just out of this button down here, I'm going to add hr horizontal row and specify class to it. So here you can notice we have this horizontal row. So I'm going to specify here border to make it light, and then I'm going to add some margin y4. So this is going to specify top and bottom margin to this border. Let me just add some more margin. I'm going to add here margin 5 when I save the changes. Yeah, that's right. I'm going to add some margin to this horizontal row. And now let's move on to the next section. And in the second section, we have this recent work. In this recent work, I'm going to have image with the title and the description. Now to create this section, let's move on and create a new column for that. So just out of this first section, down here, I'm going to create a new section. So I'm going to start with a new command and specify here second section, and I'm going to just close this command. So I'm going to copy it and specify that here to indicate this is the closing second section. So here I'm going to create a new column. So I'm going to start with call 12 class. So this class is going to specify 12 column width to this division tag. If you don't know about grid system, I already have a dedicated video on it. You can check the video on the top right corner of the screen or in the description of this video. Now once I specify 12 column width to this div, I'm going to add here h1 heading tag. So here I'm going to add h1 heading tag, and then I'm going to specify some text to it. So here I'm going to say recent work, and to this h1 heading tag I'm going to specify some classes. I'm going to add margin top 5, save the changes. Let me just show you the result, and then I'm going to specify Roboto font family, specify text dark, then I'm going to specify padding x1 is going to add left and right padding, and padding y 5. So this is going to add top and bottom padding just like this. And just for that I'm going to add font size 2, and you can notice I have this recent work title here. Now just for this h1 heading tag, down here I'm going to create grid system for the images. So here I'm going to create a new row, and in this row I'm going to have different columns. So here I'm going to create a division tag with the class called md6. On the medium size of devices, I want to create 2 columns on the single row. You can notice here I specify column 6 to this division tag. So it's going to create 6 column space in the single row. If I just duplicate it and create a 6 column space again, and if you calculate both the column, you will have 12 column space. So on the single row I want 2 columns. That is why I specify here 6. Now I'm going to specify here MD because I want this 6 column only on the medium device. On the small device I want 12 column space. Now just for that, in this div I'm going to create image. So I'm going to add image tag, and then I'm going to add asset, and then I'm going to add here my first image. So I'm going to select here image 1. Alt attribute is going to be img1, and then I'm going to add a bootstrap class img fluid, which is a bootstrap responsive class. Just for that I'm going to save the changes, and you can notice here I have this image. Just for that I'm going to add here h5 heading tag, and then add some text. So I'm going to add some lorem text here just like this, and then to this h5 heading tag I'm going to specify class padding y2. So this will add top and bottom padding, and I'm going to specify Lato font family to it, and then I'm going to specify text dark. So this is going to specify dark color to this text, and here you can notice we have this title to this image. Just out of that, just out of this h5 heading tag, I'm going to create here paragraph, and I'm going to specify some text to it. So I'm going to use lorem to specify some text to this paragraph. So I'm going to specify lorem text, and just out of that to this paragraph, here I'm going to specify class. Lato is the font family. I want to specify to this text, and then I'm going to specify here text secondary. Save the changes, and here is the description of this image. Now just after that I want to add some bottom padding. So I'm going to add here padding bottom 5. Save the changes. I'm going to have some padding bottom to this column. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to simply copy this column and create multiple columns here. I'm going to copy this column, paste it down here, and just change these images just like this. So when I save the changes, you can notice I have 2 columns here. When I create one more column, you can notice here I'm going to have this column on the next line right here. I'm going to do the same just like this. Specify image number 4, copy and paste the column again, specify image number 5, and do the same at the last time 6, just like this. Save the changes, and here you can notice you have your columns here. Now let's take a look at how you can create the third section of this website. In this section you're going to see how to create this get in touch section. So let's take a look at how to create it. But before we create it, let me just add this full portfolio button at the end of this second section. So I'm going to just back to my website, and down here just out of this column I'm going to create a new column. I'm going to say here call, and here I'm going to add a button. So instead of creating a new button, I'm going to copy this button right from here and specify that right here, and just change this content. And here I'm going to say full portfolio, just like this. Save the changes, and you can notice I have this button here. Now let's move on and see how to create the third section of this website. I'm going to create a new comment here. So I'm going to add HTML5 command, third section, copy this command, paste it down here and just close it to indicate this is the closing third section. Now here I'm going to create a new row. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to simply add here a new division tag with the class row, and then I'm going to create a new column. So I'm going to create here a call class. Now this call class is going to specify 12 column width to this section. So I'm using this Bootstrap call class. In this call, I'm going to create h1 heading tag and specify some text to it. So I'm going to say here get in touch. Save the changes, and you can notice we have this get in touch text here. Let me just add some classes to it, and I'm going to first add margin top 5. Then I'm going to add fs2 to add font size 2 rem. Then I'm going to specify roboto font family, and then text dark color. Save the changes. Just for that, I'm going to add some padding. Padding x is going to be 1 and padding y is going to be 5. Save the changes. When I save the changes, you can notice I have this get in touch text here. Just out of that, just out of this h1 heading tag, here I'm going to add a paragraph with some lorem text. So I'm going to use some lorem text inside this paragraph just like this. And to this paragraph, I'm going to add some classes. So I'm going to add a class to this paragraph and specify lato, which is the font family. Then I'm going to specify text secondary just like this, and then specify fs1. So I'm going to add 1 rem font family to this text. Width is going to be 75 and padding bottom is going to be 3. Save the changes, and you can notice I have this text here just like this. Now once I have the title and the description, let's move on and see how to add this form in this get in touch section, in the get in touch section. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just add a new form here. So just out of this paragraph down here, I'm going to just add here a new row, and then I'm going to add a new class to it. So here I'm going to create a division tag with the class call md8. So I'm going to just specify 8 column space to this division tag. Now this division tag is going to have 8 column space from the 12 columns. Now in this div, I'm going to create a new form. So I'm going to say here form, and in this form, I'm going to create a new row. So in this form, I'm going to create a new row with a new column. So here I'm going to say call and specify tab. So when I press tab, I'm going to have a division tag with the class call. Now in this call, I'm going to create a new input tag. To create an input tag, you need to start with input keyword and press tab. When you press tab, it's going to create an input tag with the type text. I'm going to just add a class here, form control, which is a Bootstrap class, and then I'm going to specify placeholder to it. The placeholder is going to be name. When I save the changes, you can notice you have here an input tag with the name placeholder. I'm going to just add another column here. Down here I'm going to add column, and in this column I'm going to add another input tag. So I'm going to copy this input tag and specify that here, and I'm going to name this placeholder email, and I'm going to save the changes. And you can notice here I have 2 input text boxes, name and email. Now just for that, I want to add here text area. So just out of this row right down here, I'm going to add another row with a class padding y3. So this is going to create a new division tag with the class row and padding y3. So the padding y is going to specify top and bottom padding to this division tag. Just out of that, I'm going to add here 2 columns. So here I'm going to specify call 12. So this is going to specify 12 column width to this division tag. And then in this div, I'm going to add text area text box. I'm going to remove all these attributes right from here because this is not needed. So I'm going to just remove it, and I'm going to just leave these rows as it is. And I'm going to just specify 6 rows here. So I'm going to say here 6. Then I'm going to specify placeholder. It's going to be message. So here I'm going to say message, just like this. When I save the changes, I'm going to have here a text area box, just like this. Once I have this image text area text box here, I want to extend it. So I'm going to add here a class and specify form control. So I'm going to add a Bootstrap class form control and save the changes. When I save the changes, you can notice here this text box is now extended, and you're going to have the finished result. Now just for that, I'm going to just back to my project, and here I'm going to create another div with the class call 12, and I'm going to add class to it padding y3. So this is going to add top and bottom padding to this division tag, and here I'm going to add button with some different classes. So in this button, I'm going to add send message. So I'm going to specify text to this button, send message, and I'm going to specify class to it. And here I'm going to add btn fs1. So I'm going to add here fs1 utility class to specify font size 1 rem to this text. Now just out of that, I'm going to add here border, save the changes. You can notice here I have send message button. Now just out of that, I'm going to add text secondary class, and padding X is going to be 4. So this is going to add left and right padding to this button. Now just out of that, I'm going to create second column, and in the second column right here I'm going to add address, number, and the email address. Just out of this column right down here, I'm going to add another column with call md4. And now in this column, I'm going to add dflex class to specify display flex and direction row property. So I'm going to add here division tag with the class dflex with the class flex row. So now using both these classes, I'm going to use display flex and flex direction row to this division tag. Just for that, I'm going to add here padding bottom 4, and then in this div, I'm going to add my image. So here I'm going to add image tag and specify my image here. So I'm going to add here bootstrap icon. To access the bootstrap icon, I'm going to add dot / specify node modules, then select bootstrap icons, and then I'm going to select icons folder, and right here I'm going to add housefill.svg. And just for that, instead of adding any class to this image tag, I'm going to add here style width is going to be 10%, just like this. When I save the changes, you can notice I have here house icon. Just out of this image down here, I'm going to add a simple span tag, and in this span tag, I'm going to add some address. You're free to specify any address inside this span tag, that doesn't matter. So in this span tag right down here, I'm going to add a class. I'm going to specify class padding x2 to specify left and right padding. Then I'm going to add width 75% and fs1 bootstrap utility class, which is going to specify font size 1 rem. Then I'm going to specify font family Roboto. When I save the changes, you can notice I'm going to have this address here. Just for that, I'm going to just copy this column. So I'm going to copy this division tag with this dflex class, just like this, and specify down here. And then I'm going to change this icon. So I'm going to change this icon to phone fill. So I'm going to get rid of this house icon right from here and specify here phone fill svg icon. And then I'm going to change this address. And here I'm going to add a simple mobile number. You're free to specify any mobile number here. I'm going to just add here 000. And then I'm going to copy this div again, paste it down here. And now I'm going to change this icon. And now I'm using envelope icon. So here I'm going to select envelope fill. Then I'm going to change this text. And here I'm going to say example@gmail.com. Save the changes. And you can notice here I have this detail. So you can notice we have the get in touch section ready. Now let's move on and see how to create the footer. The footer is very simple of this website. I'm going to create a footer just out of this division tag and before this closing column. So here I'm going to create a footer tag and I'm going to just specify classes to it. So I'm going to first specify class to it, bg light. Then I'm going to specify text center. Then I'm going to specify text dark and padding y is going to be 2. So I'm going to add top and bottom padding to this footer. Just for that, in this footer, I'm going to add a span tag and then add design by daily tuition. And to this span tag, I'm going to specify class Roboto. When I save the changes, you can notice I'm going to have my footer right down here. So you can notice this website is now completely ready. But let me just check this website for responsiveness. If I just open this website on the mobile device, then you can notice this website is not completely responsive. So we need to make it responsive first. So I just need to specify some relative path to this header section. So I'm going to just back to my style.scss file and I'm going to just specify relative path to this header section. So when the viewport is less than 768 pixel, I want to specify relative path to this header section. So in the style.css file down here, I'm going to add media tag, and here I'm going to say media, and in the parentheses I'm going to add max width, and then I'm going to specify 768 pixel. And just for that, I'm going to add here fix, and to this fix, to this class, and now I'm going to specify position relative. Width is going to be 100%. Save the changes. You can notice when the viewport is less than 768 pixel, I'm going to specify here 767. When I save the changes, if the viewport is less than 768 pixel, I'm going to just change the properties of this header section. Oops, I think I put this media section in this fix class. Let me just grab it and put this outside this curly braces right here, just like this. When I save the changes, you can notice if the viewport is less than 768 pixel, you're going to have this position relative. Now I'm going to just add here height, and height is going to be 50 viewport height. Save the changes. That's great. So now I'm going to specify relative path to this header section when the viewport is less than 768 pixel. Now if you just take a look at this website, then it's completely responsive. You can notice the recent work is also completely responsive. That's great, right? Now you can notice the website is now completely ready. We just created this simple website using HTML5 and make it completely responsive. Now I hope you understand how easy it is to create this beautiful responsive portfolio website. Now I hope you understand how you can import Bootstrap in your project, how you can use Bootstrap icons, and I also hope you understand how you can use the beautiful utility API to make styling simple. If you have any question, don't forget to ask me in the comment section of this video. Like this video if you find anything useful, subscribe for more latest videos, and if you want, you can check out the Patreon page and support this channel. That is all for now. I will see you in the next one.